welcome to the October Art and Soul Show. In this month's show, we have our usual mix of music, poetry and chat. We have a discussion around the meaning of psychosis, as well as some music produced here at Basement 13 Ipsum. We'd like to start the show with a track we all like by the Red Hot Chili Peppers called Under the Bridge.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry. Drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion. I walk through the hills 'cause she knows who I am. She sees my good deeds and she kisses me when and I never worry, now that is a lie. I don't ever want
On the 10th of October, to celebrate World Mental Health Day, Rusty Goat's Poetry Corner will be taking over the Central Library at Regent Circus in Swindon to celebrate all things connected with mental health and well-being. It's an evening of spoken word poetry featuring Holly DeFern, Nick Lovell, and open mic slots will be available. The timings for that are 7 p.m. prompt till 9 p.m.
And now here's Charlie Hewson with a cover of I'm Yours by Jason Mraz.
Well, you done me and you bet I felt it. I tried to be chill, but you so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back. Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. I reckon it's again my turn to win some or learn some, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. music of the moment, people dance and sing. We're just one big family, and it's our God-forsaken right to be loved, love, 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 love. So I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm sure there's no need to complicate our time. It's sure this is our fate. I'm yours. Do you wanna come over closer, dear? And I will nibble your ear. I've been spending way too long checking my tongue in the mirror and bending over backwards just to try to see it clearer. But my breath fogged up the glass, so I drew a new face and I laughed. I guess what I've been saying is there ain't no better reason to rid yourself of vanities and just go with the seasons. It's what we aim to do. Our name is our virtue, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Well, open up your mind to see like me. Well, open up your plans and damn, you're free. Look into your heart and you'll find that the sky is yours. So please don't, please don't, please don't. There's no need to complicate, 'cause our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. Won't hesitate no more, no more. This is our fate. I'm yours. There's no need to complicate our time. It's short.
This is a poem called The D Word. Don't. Don't fall. Don't fail. Don't tell me it ain't happening. Don't pretend. Don't bend the facts. Don't turn away. Don't put on an act. Don't ignore what's in your face. Don't you decide what's on my face. Don't ask me how I'm doing. Don't pretend you really care. Don't forget that the listening, and don't forget to hear. Don't ignore my struggling on. Don't leave me all alone. Don't think about me from afar, but don't you come too near. Don't humour me. Don't hurt me. Don't wound me with your insincerity. Don't hug me with your shallow words. Don't punish my insecurity. Don't empathise in front of me. Don't wait for me to turn my back, then run me down in whispered tones with your poisoned put-me-downs. Don't make believe. Don't fake believe. Don't force me to pretend that all this time you've lied to me, that you're an honest, accepting friend. Don't tell me to cheer up and smile until you've worn my shoes and walked a very bumpy mile, then you'll know I didn't choose. Don't paint me as some wounded saint, then expect me to snap out of it. Don't think I can slap on a grin just because you've become bored of it. Don't pretend you understood, though you said you always would. But now you give yourself away, impatient with my mood. Don't embarrass me. Don't punish me. Don't rubbish my depression. Don't think that you know more than me about my mental health condition.
So that was Sue Hammond with her poem Don't. And now we have Funkadelic with One Nation Under a Groove.
So I can't get around it. So low, you can't get under it. So high, you can't get over it. Can't get over it. This is a chance. This is a chance to dance your way out of your constrictions. How? Dill shook 'em. Here's a chance to dance our way out of our constriction. Gonna be freaking up and down the hang-up alleyway. With the groove I only got, we shall all be moved. Ready or not, here we come, getting down on the one which we believe in. Can I get it on my good foot? Good God! I'm gonna get down one time. Hey, don't tell me now. What you're talking for? You don't tell me now. Do you promise the funk? The whole funk, nothing but the funk. Ready or not, here we come, getting down on the one which we believe in. Here's my chance to dance my way out of my constriction. Just to dance our way out of our constriction. Gonna be grooving up and down, hang up alleyway.
Come to the quiz night at the Shield and Dagger, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, 16th of October, £5 per person. Based on music and film through the decades. Is the thing on? Yes, it's for charity for Ipsum supporting mental health. Prizes to be won. Raffle on the night.
Psychosis? What's that all about?
Hello, I'm Amanda. I work with Swindon Early Intervention and Psychosis. I'm here today with my colleague Helen. Our team work with people who are experiencing the first episode of psychosis. So the purpose of today is to have a bit of a talk about psychosis, because we're aware that it's different for all individuals. And to help us with that, we've brought along some people who have their own lived experience. So we have Katie, Michael and Linda here today. So I don't know who wanted to start.
Well, I'll start. I'm Helen, by the way. Just to kick things off, really. The reason I wanted to start was because to talk about mental health is really difficult for people, and it could be quite stilted and it can be quite difficult, and it's also hard to share your own experiences sometimes. But I've had the pleasure of working very closely with two of the people that are here today. My reflection of both of your experiences is that they were very different, although there were some essentials, there were some components of it that were the same. I wonder, Mike, do you remember when you first became unwell?
Yeah, when I first became unwell, I was working at Honda, but I think it was ill in my early childhood as well.
Really?
Well, it's like a low mood, and it sort of got worse and worse, I think, yeah.
So you've struggled for a number of years?
Yeah, with mood and depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Can anybody else relate to that?
I can. Hi, I'm Linda. I can relate to what Michael said, that looking back post-event, you can see some issues from childhood onwards. When it actually happens, I think it's just the build-up of life events. I stored a lot of information and thought about a lot of things that had gone wrong until it just went bang.
Yeah. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, I think because I was bullied quite a lot in primary school and secondary school, I didn't have a happy childhood at school, although my parents made up for that a lot. So I didn't think of it as a problem when I was a child. I just dealt with it like everybody deals with bullying, but some of the way that left me feeling did come up in my psychosis.
I'm just wondering, because I'm really curious about the point at which things change and things become more unusual, something that is different to those experiences that you brought with you that we call psychosis. Linda, do you remember how much do you remember of your experience?
The start of it, I found practical things like walking up the stairs, following a conversation. I didn't sleep, and that was it. And slowly over a period of days, it became more intense, and I literally didn't sleep at all. And then I started to believe certain things were happening and see certain people that weren't there.
Can anyone else relate to that?
I had a similar experience. I've had 2 psychotic episodes about 3 years apart, and the way that both of them manifested themselves was lack of sleep. But I believed I've had psychosis, I've got over that, that can never happen again, so I didn't expect it to happen a second time. And I think you just have to be wary that it can happen again.
Did you have the same build up again of not sleeping properly, or was there another event?
Yes, there were a few events in my life. There was a lot of stress, stress at work, but that was a theme for both of them. But it was a different kind of stress. The first time it was that I was completely abandoned and nobody was supporting me with my job. And the second time I went to a new job and they really believed in me, and I showed that I was really capable, but I didn't confide in them about my previous mental health issues, which maybe I should have done. And I just took more and more on, and I had what they call the highs in bipolar, and now I'm starting to touch on diagnosis rather than psychosis. But yeah, the second time that I had psychosis, I learned it was a lot to do with the highs in bipolar as well, and that made me reflect that maybe that there was some of that apparent in the first time, although I don't think I was as up and down.
I can relate to that because that's my journey, for want of another word, that I do look at the psychosis as I'm grateful that happened, because it led me to reevaluate my life, and also I got a diagnosis of bipolar, and I found the hardest thing was to accept that those highs weren't normal, because I believed that was the real me. It was an exaggerated high and an exaggerated low and nothing in the middle.
Yes, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but sometimes when you haven't had sleep and you're all like wound up and you're stressed, you can't realise that. You've got to come away. And I've realised a lot of that through doing CBT with the team, with the early intervention team. And I've just finished that, and I got my letter the other day saying I'd done 18 sessions. You wouldn't get 18 sessions anywhere else. I think that this team is very, very thorough, and they really look after you and do everything that you need so that you can move on.
That is so nice to hear. Thank you very much. What I'm really curious about is it's interesting, isn't it, that both of you are talking about sleep, the importance of sleep for mental health and levels of stress, and also this experience of mood, high mood, low mood. So, and that psychosis does feature at extreme ends of that. Michael, am I right in thinking your experiences are a little bit different?
Yeah, I had the sleep problem as well.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't sleep, yeah. But I thought when I was working at Honda, I thought there was like human trafficking people, like I thought there was like conspiracy there. So I was like sort of arguing, and I told them about my mental health, but yeah, they just couldn't understand it, I don't think, yeah, and I lost my job, yeah.
So they couldn't get their heads around what was going on, do you think?
No, yeah.
How did that feel, to think that there was all that stuff going on at work?
I thought it was real, yeah, so yeah, I didn't think it was not normal.
Did you feel frightened? Did you feel...
Yeah, I felt a bit like scared, yeah, so I thought people were like after me as well, yeah.
How did that make you act? What did you do to try and keep yourself safe?
Well, I ran away for about a week, 2 weeks, and I stayed in hotels, and I spent all my money just staying in, all my savings, staying in hotels and stuff, yeah. It
must have been a really frightening experience.
Yeah.
And that was quite a big impact, wasn't it? Because we've worked with your family, haven't we? And they've chatted a lot about how they felt and what they thought was happening, because they didn't understand what was going on.
They thought I was supposed to be naughty, didn't they? Yeah.
Well, no, they didn't think you'd be, from my perspective. But you know, obviously you'll perceive how they felt differently, particularly because you're close, and you know that it's a lot more raw. But So you lost your job at Honda.
Yeah.
And what happened?
I got run over by a taxi, because I thought there was like information on the phone, so I stole the phone.
From the driver?
Yeah, and then he ran me over, and then I broke my hip, and because I thought there was like a conspiracy there as well, I had to give the phone to the police because there was like criminal stuff on there,
So is it right to think then that the longer time went on, the wider this conspiracy became for you?
Yeah.
And was it scary?
When I look back on it, it was scary, but I think I was so like in a different reality that it wasn't that. At the time, I was just thought, I'm not sure what I was thinking. But
I can remember working with you,
Yeah.
and I can remember you having a real need to solve this conspiracy, and to confront the people that you thought were behind it or part of it.
Yeah.
And that suggests to me that's never had psychosis, that those beliefs are so real that you've got like 100% conviction behind them, 100% belief. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true.
That was the first half of the discussion on psychosis. More to come later. And now we have music from Ipsum client Beth, and it's a cover of Bruises by Lewis Capaldi.
Counting days since my lover band got lost on me. And every breath that I've been taking since you left feels like a waste on me. I've been holding on to hope that you'll come back when you find some peace. Every word that I've heard spoken since you left feels like a hollow stream. I've been told to keep you off my mind, but I hope I never lose the bruises that you left behind. Oh my Lord, I need you by my side. There must be something in the water, 'cause every day is getting colder. And if I could only hold you, you keep my head from going under. Maybe I'm just being blinded by the brighter side of what we had, because it's over. Well, there must be something in the tide. I've been told to get you off my mind, but I hope I never lose the bruises that you left behind. Oh my Lord, I need you by my side. There must be something in the water, 'cause every day is getting colder. And if I could only hold you, you keep my head from going under. It's your love I'm lost in. It's your love I'm lost in. Your love I'm lost in. I'm tired of being so exhausted. Your love I'm lost in. It's your love I'm lost in. Your love I'm lost in. Even though I'm nothing to you now. Even though I'm nothing to you now. There must be something in the water, 'cause every day is getting colder. And if I could only hold you, you keep my head from going under. There must be something in the water, 'cause every day is getting colder. And if I could only hold you, you keep my head from
And now, joke of the month. A friend of mine who worked for the highways department at the council recently lost his job. He'd worked there for 20 years. He was sacked for theft. I couldn't believe it. I thought there must be something seriously wrong. I was worried, so I went to visit him. My concerns were justified. There were all the signs.
This is a cover of the Beatles number Yesterday by Mike Watkins, recorded at Basement 13 Ipsum.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Andrew, this is Andrew's tips of the month, food tips of the month. Right, recently I've bumped into a few of my brothers who I don't see much. They live in other areas. So, recently we've been fixing my dad's shed in his garden. We all got together and we all went out something to eat. We chose the Spotted Cow, and the food is quite good in there, I would say. It's better than some places. It's not too busy. And this time I decided to have 2 meals for one price, which was £10. And I chose chicken tikka masala, and the other meal I chose was beef and ale pie with gravy and mashed potato. Beef and ale pie was a bit dry, but it was nice with the gravy. So all in all, it was a good time and a good place to eat. And you can get a lot of more other meals as well there. And it's nice to have a beer there too. Thank you.
This is a track called Dark Angel, recorded at Basement 13 by Swindon band The Big Everywhere in July 2019.
Dark angel, time to rise. Such wild and sweet surprise. Krishna, Krishna, no one dies. Not ours to wonder why. I saw laser beams flash fire in your eyes. Roll on silk sheets of time for what is to be yours and mine. For I am hers and hers and hers. She is his and mine. Keep it again, child, don't forget. I guess it is about the time. It is not he or she or them or it that you belong to, or any place you've been to, or any place you've gone to. You just wanna be out there. I'm floating free. Out there, that's you and me. Out there together. I just wanna be out there. We're floating free. Out there, kind of space debris. Out there forever. With your eyes too red for greens and brown. Just wanna be out there, kind of space debris. Out there, we're floating free. Out there. Just wanna be out there, we're floating free. Out there, that's you and me. Out there together. Just wanna be out there, kind of space debris. Out there, that's you and me. Out there forever. Just gonna be out there, that's you and me. Out there, we're floating free. Out there together. That's you and me. Out there, kind of space debris. Out there, we're floating free. Out there together.
And here is part 2 of the discussion on psychosis.
I wonder if Katie or Linda had anything that they absolutely believed and caused them to maybe put themselves at risk or do something different to what they might normally do.
Yeah, I had that both times. The first time I believed that my husband's family were all against me, and that they'd set something up to trap me, and it brought back a lot of things in my family, and it was almost as if like things that they were doing were affecting my family, and it was completely unfounded. Once I got to hospital, got some sleep and got some medication, I didn't share this with them, and I suddenly thought that's not true at all. So I actually think that I've not experienced this sort of paranoia going on and on and on, and that's really sad that you experienced it like that, but then obviously I've experienced other things, so I've had other things that went on and on, but with the paranoia I can also relate to what you said about at work, because the second time that it happened to me, I was at work when it happened, and all of a sudden I didn't trust anyone. I thought they were all against me, I thought they were all trying to overwork me. So sometimes I find in psychosis there's actually a logical reason, because I felt overworked, but those people weren't purposefully overworking me.
Mm-hmm.
The whole team was overworked.
Yeah, I
so,
felt like that as well, yeah.
and sometimes they can't help you with their own, they can't help you with your mental health problems, because they've got their own problems in the workplace of lots of stress and you know, and not knowing how to support people and not knowing what signs to look out for.
Does that resonate with you, Linda, in terms of?
I was away on holiday when mine happened. My partner, who I'd known for 6 months, had then gone on a pre-arranged time off work for a year to travel the world. So as my Christmas present, I'd flown out to Mexico to meet him. And then after about 5 days, I had those sort of problems about walking, talking, understanding. And then we went on a couple of coach trips. The second one particularly, I believed it was my actions that would steer what the trip was like. And I felt like I had missions, and I was running around trying to talk to these people and try and explain something I had to do, but of course they had no idea what was wrong with me. And then when I got back from that, I think it had become worse, and all the things that I saw related to people in my life, like friends or family. Some of it was like it was stuck back in time where I'd had more to do with them, so say my friends and their son would look as they would have done, say, 8 years ago. And then my partner did actually know my ex-husband, and then I believe they were in collusion, and it all related to my daughter's wedding, that whatever mission I had, if I failed, I mean, I'm starting to laugh now, if I failed, she would get married with a group of Mexicans, and if I succeeded, she would get married with all the family there. But then I went catatonic and then was taken to the hospital. I'd say for me, the bit on the coach trip and being in the hospital was the most scary bit. I didn't believe that they were doctors and nurses, so I was pulling lines out and all my senses had kind of gone back to front. So if they said they were putting fluids into me, I could smell urine. So I found that really scary. So they basically sedated me and tried to bring me round, but I found that really, really frightening.
So it affected all your senses as well, so it wasn't just that you might think you saw something or hear something, it was smell as well.
And I would, there wasn't a television in the room, but I saw a television, and sometimes it was not, my partner or my ex-husband talking to me as part of this show, or another time it was, say, I can only sort of think like a Simpsons cartoon, but yeah, it was actually relating to what was going on with me.
God. It sounds like it's quite common that what happens in psychosis has links to what's happening in real life or what has happened to you, and sometimes it plays out a bit. I don't know, because it sounded like it from both of you ladies that, you know, things that happened kind of also touched on real life. Did you find that with you, Michael, or was it just very different?
Yeah, I think it was very different, but I had sort of like flashbacks to like stuff which happened to me as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just overthinking, and I was like sort of, yeah, it's like anger out of stuff that had happened to me. Yeah, like just stressful situations.
Yeah, stressful. I think it's one of the real things and large things in psychosis, isn't it? Stress.
I have this little theory that is only my theory, so don't quote me on this, people. Is that the more I've worked with people with psychosis, the more I see that psychosis brings our pasts with it when it visits us, and because it's got then all our darkest stuff to draw on. But that's just my theory, so as I say, don't quote me on it.
So I suppose I've always thought that, because you hear a lot that people say, oh, well, it's just psychosis, you know, they're just psychotic, they're just talking that, but I've always found that even when people are really unwell, that there's a lot of sense in the things that they talk about that are in context with what's happened to them.
But at the time you don't know it, and that's the sad part about psychosis, is because generally we are first episode psychosis in terms of the people that we see. And so therefore it's unlikely that we've got any history when somebody first sort of comes into the radar of mental health services. I kind of wanted to say thank you for sharing what are three really different experiences of what could be classified as the same thing. And that's interesting, isn't it? And maybe another time we can talk about how we'd approach that and how we work, but not today, because we've run out of time.
Psychosis, that's what it's all about. And now we move on to Sue Hammond, Blowing in the Wind.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonball fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
people exist before they're allowed to be free. How many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? How many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Rusty Goat's back again. 10:57. Midweek revellers walk the beat and filter their way in small clusters to the bars on Wood Street. A small group of 4 exit the tapas bar. A taxi waits on hazard lights half parked on the pavement. It appears a few words are exchanged between one of the 4 and the driver through the near side passenger front window. They open 3 of the 4 doors and enter. Hazard lights are turned off. They head off in the taxi, direction east roughly. A couple are stood in the doorway of the estate agents, illuminated by the display lights. He sparks a cigarette, she peers at house rentals. They embrace, her arm around his waist, and from their movements I sense there is laughter. The relative silence is broken by sirens, 2 cars pull to the curb, and an ambulance comes into view. It's obviously been heard and observed, which pleases me. It passes with ease and makes its way to the Blues and Twos destination. Cars pass in 1s and 2s. I wouldn't say it's busy, but these movements will continue almost endlessly through night and day with varying frequency. A lone figure staggers, the effects of one too many, even on a Wednesday night. Hands will be clutching ahead, unsoothable tomorrow morning. I roll another cigarette. A mixed group of 6 or 7 pass in the street below. The air rings with calls and shouts. I smile to myself and remember when that walk was my beat. 10:57 p.m. I sit back, retract the point of my pen with a thumb press.
It is now October, the nights are drawing in. Harvest time has been and gone, the produce all brought in. The comfort, warmth of summer has now all gone away. The sharp cold nights of winter will soon be here to stay. The years they do so passes by, no longer than a month. Time is not on our side, there never seems enough. Our passage through existence, how lucky we have been. Many seasons spent on this earth, and all that we have seen. It is now October, the nights are drawing in. Harvest time has been and gone, the produce all brought in.
And that was an original song by John Joe Higgins called It Is Now October.
This is a cover of No Matter What, originally by Badfinger, by the Mystic Mondays here at Basement 13.
cover of No Matter What by the Mystic Mondays. And now on the Art and Soul Show, it's time for Brian's Adventures in Faraway Lands. For many years, we have had Brian's Adventures in Faraway Lands with James Osborne. James has moved away from Swindon, and we wish him all the best for his adventure in Cornwall. This month, we have a slightly different format of a question and answer session. So over to Brian.
Thank you, Katie. And what are we going to do? We are going to do questions. And the question that we're going to start off with is from Katie.
So the first question is, what happened to you in Papua New Guinea?
Well, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I was being rather stupid. In New Guinea, they have a lot of old Second World War shells lying around, and you take the tops off and pull the cordite out and you can make fireworks. So there I was, filling one of the brass shells with cordite and a few other bits and pieces to make a Roman candle, and it went bang. Unfortunately, I ended up with third-degree burns on my leg and second-degree burns on my hand. So they rushed me down to the hospital, and what did they do? I said, don't use water-based gentian violet because it'll burn, because this is chemicals. What do? They put water-based gentian violet on. My hands burst into flames.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that wasn't very nice at all. But then I had to go to another hospital because they didn't have any penicillin. And that was the leprosy hospital. And the doctors there, well, her nickname was Buckets of Blood, Blanche Biggs. And she stabbed me in the leg with a penicillin syringe, unscrewed it, put another one on, and stabbed me again. Absolutely wonderful.
So that was a good result.
Yes, it was. I was alive. Hi, John Joe. What sort of question have you got?
Well, what happened next on the Newcastle Metro?
Oh, another explosion. I seem to be in trouble with explosions. This time I was on top of the equipment at the Tyne and Wear Metro, and we were hauling this equipment out of the hole, and the whole thing exploded. I got hit in the face by a blast with concrete and got taken to hospital, and they had to pull the bits of concrete out of my eyes, one after the other. And then I was blind.
How long?
How long? 2 weeks blind and then a month recovering.
Any lasting problems?
Yeah, my cornea are very badly damaged, and so I can't wear contact lenses. And in fact, I've now had replacement lenses fitted because the other ones are not very good.
Oh, right, very good.
Thank you, John Joe.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott. Have you got a question for me?
Brian, yes, I have got a question for you. Could you tell me about this minefield in Rwanda?
Oh, God, that was awful. I was doing some measurements, radio signal measurements, on top of a mountain, and I was measuring the height of the tower, which means that you walk backwards with a little thing called a clinometer, and we walked back and back and back until someone shouted, "Stop! Don't move!" Well, why? You're in the middle of a minefield.
Wow, okay.
So what we had to do was get out. Now, fortunately for me, the guy with me was an ex-Dutch Marine, and so he knew how to work his way through the minefield to get us out. And so I followed him, but it was a bit hairy, really. For me, even for me, I did feel a bit sort of worried at the time.
Yeah, that would be worrying. I guess I've seen it on films. Did he sort of pick his way through the soil with like a knife or a stick or something?
Exactly, he had a knife.
Yeah, and mark where.
He was sort of.
Did he find any mines?
Yeah, two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you've been very
survived.
lucky.
We survived.
You've survived, yes, because you're sat here opposite me, which is fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Hi, Craig. You've got a question for me, I know, and it's going to be a tricky one.
So I was wondering, what could possibly go wrong in Mexico City?
You're right. What could possibly go wrong in Mexico City? Well, several things did. The first one was that we were working out in the city itself in a rough area, and the gangs were forming and we had to leave early every day. Wow. But I was actually in the factory going through security, and they said, no, you can't come in with all that kit. Go to reception desk and sign in. So I wandered over, and of course, carrying a load of equipment, I didn't see the coffee table. Straight over the coffee table, smashed into the floor, got up, and I put my hand on the counter, and it sort of moved in all directions.
Oh no.
I started thinking, oops, that's broke. And so they took me to hospital, and the guy who was surgeon trained in Bristol.
Wow.
Absolutely brilliant. So he patched me up, and I came home with a special lightweight plaster so I could go on the aircraft, and they sorted me out when I got back to the UK.
Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Andrew, I've discovered that you've got a question for me.
I have indeed, Brian. So, how did you manage to set a gas main on fire?
Oh yes, that was a fun time, that was. I was teaching them how to repair leaking gas mains. And to do that, you have to clean the main properly. And this particular main had been covered in Vaseline. And so it was messy, so we had to clean it off. I said, don't use acetone.
Did you say Vaseline?
Yes, Vaseline.
Why that's for skin, not for bloody pipes.
Well, no, it is for pipes because you wrap it around and it stops it leaking. But it doesn't last very long. So I asked them to clean it off. And I said, don't use acetone because it's dangerous. It'll go on fire. Went back away, came back, nice clean pipe.
Lovely.
Yeah, really good. So I then put the heater around the pipe and thought, hang on, I can smell acetone. Bang goes the acetone. I flew out of the hole and the main goes on fire and they had to use the fire extinguishers to put the fire out.
That sounds very scary, Brian. Very frightening and scary.
Well, no, not really. I just was annoyed more than anything because
you tried to sort it out.
Well, because I told them not to use it and they did.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that question, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
That brings us to the end of this month's show, which we hope you've enjoyed. Same time, same channel, next month. Now we'll play out with Cannon, an original song by Swindon band The Cream Teas.
Stranger to life, you know. Used to be ready to blow. I knew all the dangers, but I couldn't let go. I always lived your views. It was impossible to stop. Our explosive relationships like a gunpowder plot. Hopefully I'll melt one day, though I'm broken deep inside. I give my love to someone else, so my heartbreak I can hide. If you slip, ready to blow, now I'm a stranger to the life you know. You slip, ready to blow, I knew all the dangers, but I couldn't let go. You slip, ready to blow, now I'm a stranger with no life to know. You slip, ready to blow, I knew all the dangers, but I couldn't let go.